So now, to get some more reaction to what's actually going on at Tory party conference, Suella Braverman talking later this afternoon, and of course tomorrow Rishi Sunak making his big speech. Apparently, one of the stars of the show is Nigel Farage. And the other one is Liz Truss. They've taken all the attention away from Rishi Sunak. They were all mobbed by Tory activists looking for selfies. Now, what does that tell you? I'm delighted to be joined by somebody who might be able to answer the questions that I've got. She's a former Brexit Party MEP, of course. Alex Phillips is with us. Alex, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Now, the first question I have for you, and you may be able to answer it, is what is Nigel Farage up to? You know, he's arrived up there at Manchester Tory party conference. He's not in the Tory party. He's not, I believe, standing as a Tory MP. I don't think he's running as leader of the Tory party. But he's basically the star of the show, isn't he? If it wasn't for Liz Truss, he'd be the only guy that was of any interest at all.
Oh, Mike, if you could see the inside of my phone right now, the first thing I messaged Nigel this morning was, Nigel, what are you up to? And he gave me a call and we spoke about it, but I'm not going to tell you what we spoke about. But what is quite clear, actually, is that the Conservative Party have always been divided. They're now on their knees. And I think essentially, if they don't win the next election, that looks highly improbable, it's likely there'll be another leadership race. I mean, can we be bothered with another one? No, but that's pretty much what happens when a party loses an election catastrophically. And so people are already jostling for position. And as per usual, there is a fight over the ideology of the party, over the heart of the party. And I went to an event myself in Manchester on Sunday night, the CDO event, and you might have seen Lord Cruddas at that event, one of the big Tory donors, stand up and say to other donors, stop funding them. They don't have a democratic system of picking candidates. They're trying to flood the Conservative Party with sort of Lib Dem card carriers, essentially. And there's this huge fight going on between what people describe as the one nation Conservatives, the ones that tend to be pro having a close relationship with the EU, the sort of Jeremy Hunts of this world, if you will, who find the Suella Bravermans and the Priti Patels, rather shocking and uncomfortable. And on one side, you've got the sort of, let's say, the more right-wing side of the Conservative Party saying we must fight to regain control. Then on the other side, you've got events elsewhere that they will be saying we've got to flush out these radicals. We need to sort of regain the centre ground. Who wins at the end of the day? That will probably happen after the next election. But you can see this playing out right now in Manchester. And I think Nigel's just there having a good time and basically stirring it all up a bit.
Yeah, nice try, Alex. I'm not buying any of that at all about Nigel, because Nigel's a very clever man. You've known him a very long time. I've known him a very short time. I think he's a brilliant politician. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have left the European Union. You know, he's had more influence over the course of the recent history of this country and its politics than I think any other single politician in history. So, I mean, I'm not going to have another go at asking you the same question, but I mean, he's not just there to sort of get glad-handed and do his shows and talk to a few people. I mean, he must be attempting, at the very least, to influence the way that it all goes next, because Rishi Sunak's probably a lost cause, you know, but what comes after him?
Well, exactly. And I think, look, in all honesty, Mike, I'm not trying to spin you a yarn here. I did speak to Nigel. I haven't got any sort of dirty secrets to spill. I hope he doesn't actually hear me do this, because he'll think I phoned him because I was coming on your show, which wasn't what I was doing at all. I was catching up with him because he's an old chum. But I think that, look, essentially we've seen this 1,000 times before, haven't we, where people in the Conservative Party think it can be reformed from the inside. They think if they get their right person in power, then actually, you know, true blues will have their person and it will all be restored and all the rest of it. But what I would say, and in fact, what I actually said to Nigel is, I think what the event I was at, hosted by the CDO, what they have is essentially the backing of a vast majority of the electorate and a backing of the vast majority of the membership. But you can see what happened when we had Liz Truss in office, that doesn't play out well, because what the other side have is the backing of big businesses and the powerful donors who tend to be more about, you know, going back to the EU and sort of soft politics and lots of migration to bring down wages and so on and so forth. So it's almost like the Brexit debate playing out. You've got the sort of left behind community, the real Democrats and the ones who want to represent all the constituencies who could win over the red wall, and then the interests of big business. And I think this is the huge tug of war going on. And quite frankly, I don't know how it's going to go, but I wouldn't exactly assume that they're going to pick one side or the other, put it to bed, and then everyone moves forward. That hasn't happened. They're essentially a coalition government. They have been for 13 years, which is why they haven't got anything done. It's been U-turns, broken promises, pointless manifestos, because they don't know what they are. And I've said from the beginning, it's about time those in the Conservative Party that want to see a return to true conservatism leave their party and actually join Reform, because there is an entity there, as there was with UKIP, as there was with the Brexit Party. There's an entity there who has exactly their ideology, who think the same way and want to get that stuff done. Yet they're so addicted and loyal to this brand of the Conservatives, they won't budge. Well, I have a feeling that after the next election, attitudes might begin to change.
Yeah, because, I mean, did you get the sense when you were there, and did Nigel say this as well, that they have given up on the next election? Because I'm not convinced yet that Keir Starmer's got it in the bag, and I don't think many people are. I'm not even sure Keir Starmer's convinced. So, I mean, it's a bit premature to just give up on Rishi Sunak, isn't it? Because if you can influence what he does between now and, say, next October, when the next election is likely to be, you know, there's a chance that they could get back in.
Right, yeah. But this is the twilight zone, Mike. Isn't this exactly what has happened every single election? They suddenly veer back to true conservative values when it's close to an election, or when they've got someone nipping at their heels on the right wing of politics. I mean, what you've got to remember is the Conservatives essentially have monopoly on the right-hand side of the spectrum. The Labour Party have challengers in the form of the SNP, the Liberal Democrats, the Green Party, Plaid Cymru. The Conservatives basically own that space, unless there is essentially a Farage-led organisation. Now, we still have the remnants of the Brexit Party in Reform. Reform's polling extremely well. Reform is regularly now hitting double figures, which is equal to the Lib Dems, actually. But the way that broadcast tends to cover Reform is we may as well not exist at all. So Reform could yet provide a shock, but under first past the post, it's unlikely, I think, to change things massively. But what we could see with a strong Conservative Party and a Rishi Sunak who is pulled back towards the right, who can take back some of those red wall votes, is a Labour Party not getting a massive outright majority. Now, if that happens, Mike, and the Labour Party have to go into coalition with someone else, it will be one of those smaller parties from the left wing of politics. And what they will demand, what their deal on the table will be, is we will come into coalition with you if you bring in proportional representation. If that happens, the game changes. You suddenly have an opportunity for guess who to become the next Prime Minister. Oh, you play it forward by 5 years, but with proportional representation, you could have a Farage-led country.
Wow. Well, that's quite a statement. Interesting times indeed. Just before I let you go, Alex, a couple of other things to mention to you. A headline I never thought I'd actually see on the front page of the Daily Telegraph today: transgender women to be banned from female wards. Sorry? I mean, how the hell did they get in there in the first place?
But, they do this. They seed these little things, don't they? They know where public opinion stands on this. They don't dare go hard enough. And they turn around and they say, we're no longer going to allow NHS trusts to let trans people use female-only wards. I mean, largely it's under the jurisdiction of individual hospital trusts anyway, but it's not enough. It doesn't go far enough, because the big issue they need to be tackling is the fact that so many children are being brainwashed. I mean, forget those people who have already transitioned. And I think we've got to be quite clear that transition must involve a medical surgery. It can't just be a bloke sticking on a frock and saying, I'm a woman now. But what we're not looking at is what we're doing to the next generation. And I still don't think the Conservative Party have been strong enough on this. It's something I'm going to talk about in my own speech at our conference next week. But the Conservatives do this. They breadcrumb, don't they? They leave little hints that they love us really, and they're going to do things for us, and we're very special to them. Push comes to shove, they don't care.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing you again. Alex, very kind of you to talk to us. Thanks very much indeed. Alex Phillips with the lowdown there. Could we have a Nigel Farage-led government? Extraordinary times, that would be.